Hi, I'm Sarana,
Hi, I'm Jason.
and this is LA Family in France, and welcome. So, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about the different jobs that we've had. We're going to France because, we want to retire and get away from work, and it's good for us to look back at all the different jobs that we had in our lives, and after we go through the long list, you'll know why we're retiring.
Okay.
So we have a long list. Did you want to go first?
Yeah. Um, we have total, believe it or not, combined. We worked 26 jobs in the last 20 years.
For me, 40. I've had
40. Okay.
I've had 11 jobs in the 40 years that I've been working, and you had, so that means,
15 jobs in last 30 years.
wow.
Okay. Is that normal? I don't know, but okay. So we're gonna go one by one and explain what we had and why we quit the job and all that. All right. So I'll start.
Go ahead.
So I started working when I was 16. I didn't want to work, but my dad was like, okay, it's time for you to get a job now that you're in high school. So I say, okay, fine. So I was working part time at a Chinese restaurant near my school. As a dishwasher person, the only position they had was dishwasher. So I say, okay, well, I'll just take on that position. So I was working after school, part time. So I believe it was like 3 days a week. After school, I would work until like 8 o'clock at night, and then I would head home. The job was okay. I mean, for my very first job, the people in the kitchen were really nice. I remember they knew I was only 16. Well, dishwasher, I wasn't really washing it. I would just pretty much whatever the dirty dishes brought back to the kitchen, I would just dump the leftovers in the trash and then just lay all the dirty dishes in this huge dishwashing machine, and then I just close it and then run it through. And then after, I will take the clean dishes out and place it back to the cabinets or area that was, so they can reuse it. It was a great working experience because, well, I found that even though the job itself wasn't hard, but the people in the kitchen was just so friendly. They would, because it was a Chinese restaurant, they would offer me. It was pretty fancy restaurant, so they were offering me free like dumplings and dim sum, things like that. And so, yeah, I got some free dinner out of it too. So that was good experience. So, did you want to talk about yours, or should I?
And we can take turns,
Okay, go
sure. I
ahead.
mean, you have quite a few more jobs than I did, but I find it interesting. We both started working around the same time. I was 15 and a half when I had my first job. I was living in Belmont, California, and I had a job as, a newspaper deliverer. We called it back then, I had a paper route, which means that in the morning I would deliver newspapers to the people that had subscribed to it. In the neighborhood, and it had to be around maybe 40 people. I'd have to wake up in the morning, go get the newspapers, wrap them up in with a rubber band and put them in a plastic bag, and then go from house to house delivering those newspapers. And I remember we had a bag that we carried the newspapers in. It was extremely heavy, and on Sundays, I don't know if you know this, but in America, the Sunday newspaper is the biggest newspaper of the week, and it's so massive that you can't fold it like a normal newspaper, like twice. You can only fold it once. And it was really difficult delivering that. So I remember from time to time I would have my dad drive me to deliver those because they were just so heavy. So yeah, I didn't keep that job very long just because it was a lot of heavy lifting for someone that young. And the funny thing I remember about that job, I tried to ask myself, why did I need a job? And at that time, the only thing I can remember buying are comic books and donuts. That's the only thing that I wanted to purchase, comic books and donuts. And I made just enough money to buy all the comic books that I wanted back in those days. So that
Oh,
was back in what, the mid 80s.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, I've seen in the movies the kids with those, newspapers on their neck and riding their bikes and just throw the newspaper in their
Yeah,
people's lawns. Oh,
yeah,
oh, okay.
that was me.
Oh, but yeah. So that's interesting. So I'm glad you were able to pay for your comics books and candy and things like that you wanted.
Me too.
What did I use on my? I don't even remember what I did with my money. Probably some kind of like makeup supplies. I can't remember. Okay, so my second job. Okay, so I didn't do the dishwasher job long because the location was close to my high school, but it was really far from my home. I still, after 8 o'clock working, I have to get back home, taking 2 long trains and then walk back from the train station to my home. So that, it just, I got tired of like, working late and still have to take train rides going back home. So the next job I decided to find was a local Japanese restaurant as a waitress. Yay, that's an upgrade from the dishwasher position. And so, well, sadly, I only did that job for 2 weeks. So the first week they were training me, and the second week I don't have an upper body strength. So I had to carry like really heavy. So when we clean the table, I have to carry really heavy plates and cups and mugs and different things. Unfortunately, in 1 week, just before 2 steps to the kitchen, I would drop everything and it broke everything on the ground. First time, the supervisor was like, okay, be careful, okay, like, okay. But yeah, it happened like 2 days later. Again, this time I had way more plates on my little tray. So I just felt so embarrassed. I just never went back. I was just embarrassed. I went home and I was like, okay, sorry, I'm quitting this job. Because I can tell the supervisor, he was really nice, but I can tell he was like, wow, 1 week you broke twice, like all the plates. So yeah, that was the second job.
Wow, sounds like it was really
And
difficult.
I was still 16, by the way.
Oh, okay.
What's yours?
Yeah, I was, my second job after the paper route, I was still 15 and a half, but I wanted to do something a little bit more reputable, something that I could really be proud of. And so I graduated from paper route to Round Table Pizza. It's a pizza restaurant, very popular in America. And so I got that job as a person that prepared pizzas in the restaurant. And I was there for about a year, actually. After the paper route, and I thought I had really made it. I was making $3.35 an hour. I thought, man, this is really living. And after about 7 months, I got a raise, 10 cents to $3.45 an hour. I said, man, I must be doing something really good. But the thing that I remember most about there is that they let me, and this is not normal, but they let me take a pizza home every single night. I don't know, maybe I looked hungry or something, I don't know. But I made all kinds of different pizzas. I tried all kinds of different combinations. My favorite combination was pepperoni, sausage, onions, and mushrooms. That's the one that I would make almost every single night. I don't know, I just love the combination of those 4 things. And so, yeah, Round Table Pizza carried me from 15 and a half to 16 and a half. And ultimately, it was a pretty good job. I learned a lot, met a lot of interesting people, and ate quite a bit of pizza. So you might understand why I love pizza so much now.
Yes,
I could
yes.
just eat pizza nonstop.
Oh my.
That is my favorite food. Surprisingly, right? After I ate pizza every single night, brought it home to the family, I still love pizza to this day.
Yeah, that's great. Pizza is pretty good. Yeah, so that's a wonderful round table, $3. Wow. You know what? Let me. I think mine started at 750.
Oh,
But
that's not bad.
that's a Japanese yen, so it's like a 750 yen.
Right.
And then okay, once I finished that restaurant waitressing 2 weeks job, I completed badly. I applied to all the waitresses and waiters here,
Oh,
doing
you-
their jobs.
you applaud them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not easy.
No.
And then from there, again, I wanted to work near my home, so I applied for this position in this department store that sells fabrics, candles, all those incense and things like that. And then so I applied, and then I'm still right now it's between 16 to 17. So I applied for that position, and I got the position. Oh, I must say this was one of the jobs I favor. So I love this job the most because it was so it was matched for my personality. It was really calm, and it would just when customer wants certain fabric, I would just cut it for them and wrap it for them. They wanted candles, I can show them what candles we had. And then the store wasn't too busy, so a lot of time I remember I was just like dusting the whole entire first floor. They had a second floor and third floor, but the first floor was the fabrics and all the candles and different things. And so yeah, I really enjoyed that job. Oh, you know what?
What?
While I was working this, there was a summer job in my school. So my high school had a summer job.
So at the same
And-
time?
Yeah, I mean, either before this or after, like I had a little chunk of summer, like 2 months.
Okay.
I worked so the school was almost like, I don't know how school had a connect, like they had a
A partnership.
partnership with local post office.
Oh.
So they say, okay, do you have students that wanted to work behind the scenes in post office? And
Cool.
so a few of my friends, we said, sure, we'll do it. And then they paid 8,000 yen a day.
Whoa, that's
So
a
that's
lot.
like
That's
$80.
Oof.
And we were like, sure, we'll do it. It's just a temporary summer job. So I remember the job was so easy. If you know how to read people's name and address, all you have to do is you just put their mail in certain section of so we had a little wooden panel with like a cutoffs and each person's last name on there. So you just put it in there and make sure your rubber band, everything you put in there, and that's all. So we did that, and then I was chatting with my friends all day, and we're just keep doing this. And I just I can do this job forever, with the pay like that, So I was like, well, all right, back to the fabric. So I worked there until my senior high school year because I applied for exchange student program here in the U.S. So I had to stop that job, move to the U.S. for my high school senior exchange
Too
student
bad.
program.
Sounds like a good job.
I know.
And that post office job, $80, you can buy a lot of comic books and donuts for that.
That's true.
It's funny that you said department store because my job after Round Table Pizza was also a department store. A very popular store that sadly has closed. Sears was a department store. And at one point, maybe in the beginning, was Sears, Roebuck and Company, but eventually just became Sears. Very popular department store. And I worked there along with my brother and my cousins. It seems like we all had jobs at Sears. I worked in the men's department, where you would see me folding clothes and having people go to the dressing room to try on different clothes, and occasionally the shoe department was right next to the men's department. I would go help them out occasionally, and that was all about finding the correct shoe size in the back. So that was kind of a fun experience. But yeah, Sears was the job I had after Round Table Pizza, and it was different. I had to wear a tie, I had to dress a little bit nicer, and I had to be a little bit more professional. And so the job at Sears taught me to carry myself professionally, to wear a tie and to kind of change my attitude. At Round Table Pizza was much more relaxed, much more kick back, but this was a place where you had to be really straight-laced, really professional. And so that was a good experience.
And you were how old at this time?
This was 16 and a half.
Oh,
So I
wow.
worked at, I want to say maybe,
Ties and shirts and everything. Okay.
yeah,
that's
maybe
good.
Maybe I worked there for about 6 to 7 months. I don't remember, quite
yeah.
honestly, but I had that job for a good chunk of time.
Wow, that's good. And they pay
16-year-olds
pretty
can
well.
wear ties.
They pay pretty well.
Quite honestly, Sears, I don't remember, but I know it was much more than my $3.45 an hour at Round Table. So
Yeah.
if I had to guess, maybe it was like $5 an hour, which is
Oh.
actually pretty good back in the mid 80s.
Yeah, that's very good. Remember, we have 10 years apart, so when I'm 16, I'm already in the late 90s, or so the range it's gotten up by
We
then.
don't have to mention that too much. But yeah, 10-year age difference. So
Yeah.
back when I was 16, I was probably making not as much as you would have
No,
been.
no, yeah. So,
Yeah, interesting.
all right. So then, after I went back from America exchange student program for a year after graduate high school, at age 18, 19-ish, I went back to Japan. I say, you know what? I love that fabric store so much.
Yeah.
Worked there so much. I'm just gonna work there again.
Okay.
So I went back home and to find out from my mom that the whole entire department store closed.
Oh,
I know. It was, yeah, definitely. Exactly how I felt. I was like, what? What do you mean it closed? And so apparently their business didn't last. So from there I said, okay, what else can I do, right? As a freshly graduate high school
Yeah.
student, I really wanted to come back to America to study in college here. So I say, let me continue practice my English. And then so I decided to work in this place called Roppongi in Tokyo,
it's the area of the city.
area where a lot of America expats, right?
Yeah.
Lives there, and a lot of international business companies are there. So I decided to work at their McDonald's.
Hey.
And so I will have an interaction with a lot of foreigners daily, and I'm able to, I want to say 90% of the time I worked at that McDonald's location, I
Yeah.
was speaking English.
Wow.
Because a lot of Americans didn't speak Japanese.
How about that?
So, or other, foreigners, they pretty much just came in and start speaking English.
Good experience. Good practice for you. How
So
about that?
yeah, the job was again, once you used to the register
Right.
stuff, it's pretty easy, and I didn't have to make any hamburgers or anything. I just did the register, and my other job was like I have to take care of the French fries.
Ooh.
So you pretty much just dump the frozen French fries in the thing, and they just fry it, and they just pour it out, put some salt on there. That's it.
McDonald's secrets.
Yeah. So I worked there for a while. Then eventually, again, I wanted to. Lopbongi was kind of also very far from where my parents were. So my home were. So I decided to work local McDonald's eventually. That's also the time that we met,
Yes,
right?
I remember that very well.
Yeah, and then Jason would come visit me at that McDonald's location a couple times every time he visit me. So yeah, that's I was able to get one free meal per day from McDonald's as well. So that was pretty good for a teenager.
And you looked very cute in your uniform.
Oh, thank you. So that's the McDonald's age. The life of McDonald's.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
A lot of similarities we have
what do
here.
you have next?
Well, I say similarities because the next place that I worked also closed. Good Lord, come to mention, Sears closed too. But right after Sears, I worked at a place that they don't have anymore, but it's called Circuit City, or was called Circuit City. And Circuit City back then is a lot like the Best Buy stores that they have now. It was exactly the same, but Circuit City came before Best Buy. And it was a store that sold everything electronic, TVs, cameras, dishwashers, washer machines, everything, electronic, video games. And so I worked there because I'm, consider myself kind of a techie kind of nerd person, and so this was a fun job for me where I can answer questions related to technology and give people answers. A lot of people came in, they didn't know how to do certain things technically, and I would be able to explain that. So it was a great experience for me in offering sort of technical assistance. I mean, I worked as a cashier. I wasn't on the person. There's two different types of people. You had the cashiers, which was me, and then you have people that worked in the sales department, and they were responsible for selling these equipment and offering what was called an ESP, extended service policy, and they would get crazy commission off those service policies. I was a cashier and just simply answered questions, and a lot of people, instead of approaching the salespeople, which they're kind of intimidating, they had these red jackets and they looked all official, they would ask me those questions that they didn't want to ask the salespeople, and I would answer them without any sort of pressure. And so I was able to hone my customer service skills at Circuit City. So we're talking from between 16 and a half to 17 before I actually went off to college. This is the last job I had before I went off to college in LA.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, so McDonald's, I was making $9.50.
I'm glad you remember. I don't remember how much I was making at Circuit City.
Yeah. So anyway, I then okay, and then so once we met, we got married. We came to America. Initially, I was just trying to get my English proficient or better, so I was taking like college courses, junior college courses here and there, and so I didn't work. But once he decided to go back to school to get his teaching credential, that's when I say, okay, well, what can I do here, right, with my limited English abilities? So I applied for Nordstrom.
Right.
So it's it's Nordstrom. I applied for the Nordstrom.
Okay.
And then I went for the interview at the HR, and then the HR person said, well, unfortunately, like, we don't have anything for you. Basically, it was a no, right?
I see.
And then, but she said, however, we have our Nordstrom Rack down the street, and they are hiring this position. If you want to apply there, I can let the HR there know. And I said, sure. So then one thing led to another. I got that position. So I was working at the shoes department. I don't think they do that now, but back then
Yeah.
they only put one shoe. So there's a pair of shoes, right?
Yeah.
They put one shoe out on the rack, and then if customer wants that pair of shoe, they have to bring that one shoe to us and in the shoe department, and then we will go to the back. There's racks of shoes in the back, and then so we,
Nordstrom Rack.
yeah, we have to pretty much match that shoe for the customer, and it was only one pair. There's no second pair or new or whatever. So whatever is out there, it was out there. But I don't think they do that anymore. I think
They
right now
don't,
it's
yeah.
like both pairs are on the
They put
right.
both out,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So that was my job, and it was a lot of, because in the back you can't see. There's upstairs, downstairs. There's lots of shoes. So I did a lot of like running around and trying to find the other shoe. So I was kind of, well, it was a workout. But yeah, it was an interesting job. But I mean, I didn't mind. I just worked there and do my work and be done with it, like kind of thing. It didn't really have to speak a lot of English either, because you just kind of like, here's a shoe, you just get another one, right? And then just get the other shoe, and that's it. Yeah, pretty simple stuff. And then that's when I was 21, I think.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
21, 22, somewhere around there, early 20s.
Close enough.
Yeah. And what's your next?
Well, next for me, I went down to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And actually, the school that I went to is very close to this particular location. The very first job I got when I became a student down here, we're talking the late 80s, and I came down to study film. That's important because the first job that I got was in a movie theater in Westwood. I think they still have it. It's called Avco Center. And so a very fun job. The coolest thing about that job is I saw tons of celebrities. just as, you know, I had different jobs. I would, at this particular time, Hello Birds, I would take tickets from people. And when I was in, these were people coming into the theater. I saw Magic Johnson, Rob Lowe. I saw the dearly departed Gene Hackman. I saw Thomas Chong, Chevy Chase, Eddie Murphy, Whitney Houston, Keenan Ivory Wayans. Thomas, did I mention? I think I mentioned Thomas Chong. But yeah, I saw all these celebrities coming in to see movies, and so that was a lot of fun. And I do have a story about Randy Jackson. One time when we were ripping tickets, this is Michael Jackson's brother, Randy Jackson. He came in one day, and the girl next to me was the biggest Jackson's fan. I mean, we're talking posters in her bedroom. Everything she ever talked about was Jackson's. So Randy Jackson came in, and he held out his ticket. The girl just froze. She could not do, she was just standing there frozen. I've never seen anything like that. And I was standing next to her and I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Jackson, let me take your ticket." She's starstruck, right? And then he went in. She was so upset. She punched me in my shoulder harder than you could ever imagine. "Why did you do that?" Well, she was standing there frozen, and I just remember massaging my shoulder. It was quite painful, but so that's the one funny story I remember from working there. And the other funny story I remember is that they wanted every single person to work during Thanksgiving, during their Thanksgiving break. Why? Because Back to the Future 2 was coming out, and they wanted everyone on the staff to work, and they had everyone come in and agree to a time. I don't know what I was doing, but I said, "Oh, no, I'm not coming in." Yes.
Oh my God.
In my mind, I had already decided not to stay, and so I just told the manager, "Oh, no, I won't be here." And so I left the job after that. I don't know, that was my way of saying I don't want to be here during the busiest time of the entire year. I don't know what I was going through.
Yeah.
And so I quit shortly before Back to the Future 2 came out. And I was kind of sad because I heard from people afterward that actually Michael Jackson snuck in to see the movie when it was playing. So I had an opportunity to see Michael Jackson. But hey, I quit too late.
Yeah. Too bad. Too bad. Yeah. So that's a funny story. Oh my gosh. Now if someone punches people at work, forget it. You
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
lawsuit and things like that. But anyway. So for me, after Nordstrom Rack, I worked there for 10 months, a year-ish. I applied for the actual Nordstrom position again.
Right.
This time it was at accessory department, so they sell sunglasses, wallets, and hats, and shawls, scarves, things like that. So it was a lot easier. I didn't have to run around up and stairs, up and down the stairs. And this one was mainly like sell, right? We get commissions, so the more you sell, you get more paid. So that's where I worked after Nordstrom Rack, and yeah, it was fun. I guess it was good. At this point, we were in the Bay Area,
That's right.
so eventually we decided to move down to Los Angeles. That's when when I quit that job, basically.
Yes, indeed. I love that you actually, after first applying for Nordstrom many years ago, finally got to work at Nordstrom
Yeah.
about 3 years later. So I love that story. So we go from the Avco Center. I left there to go work at a restaurant. It's a very popular restaurant that is also closed, but the restaurant is called the Red Onion. It's a Mexican restaurant in LA. Delicious food, and I was lucky enough to sample a lot of things on their menu also, because when we had a break, we could, choose something off the menu. So that was a lot of fun. This one was close to Los Angeles Airport. They had a number of Red Onion restaurants in the area, but I do not believe they have it anymore. But I met a lot of funny people there. I don't recall seeing, I did see the owner of the Lakers, Jerry Buss, came in one day. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, one of the funniest stories about that is that a lot of the people on the waiter staff, and also the bus people, they call them, people that clean the tables, they always wanted to order the same thing on the menu, but the manager always said, no, it's carne asada. Everyone wanted carne asada, carne asada. It's like steak, but it was the most expensive thing on the menu, and the boss the manager would always say, no, it's too expensive, get something else. But that's the funniest thing I remember about there is that everyone that either came from Mexico or a Latin American country wanted carne asada, but I guess it was too expensive. The manager would always say no. And so one day I said, I should try that. And I tried it. It was pretty good. I can see why they all wanted to
Well,
order.
too bad they closed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it me? Am I closing all these places? What's going on?
Maybe you're the maybe you're the bad news. No, just kidding. Okay, so wow. Well, once we moved to Los Angeles, I decided to pursue acting. So that, well, I guess we can call that a job.
Of course.
Yes. So
Of course it is.
I did that for a few years. The pay was very, I guess, it depends. There will be days that if I get a print job, which is, if you look at the magazines or like things on billboard, whatever, those are called print. So basically you just take photos. Those can range from, for example, I did Xbox print, that was $2,500 for that day.
That was a big one.
Intel, it was 700. If as a background, so because I was union, so you get pretty much like a couple hundred. Like now it's more, but back then it was like a 200-300 a day.
Those were good jobs.
Yeah, it was good jobs.
You did DaVita too, DaVita dialysis.
DaVita, yeah, and then I did Oscar, so that one it was $1,000 a day for rehearsal, and then I got residuals from once you air the show in other countries, you also get residuals. So yeah, I mean that was a fun job.
That was a big payday.
It was a lot of waiting around on the set. The actual job wasn't hard at all. It's just waiting around. But if you book for the print job, you have to go to auditions. That took a lot of time.
Yeah.
Other than that, it was pretty good job. I mean, I think anyone can do it. Right? The job, anyone can do it. So you know.
As long as you are able to wait, you're patient, and you go where you're told to go, follow directions, you could do it. And you did that very well.
Yeah, and it's not a 9 to 5 and like get a stable income, right? Like it's if you book a job, you get that money.
I mean, I tried it and I said I couldn't do it. You did it. I mean, we both worked on a movie together. It was a Ryan Gosling, Anthony Hopkins movie. And you can see yourself in the movie.
Yeah.
But we were there from like 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. It was the longest day. And at one point, I think we tried it because we were like wearing like very nice tuxedos. We were in an opera house and they wanted people to walk around, and we were so tired, we pretended to sleep at one point. They said, wake up. No, we need you on set. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely long hours, right? 13, 14, 15, 16 hours sometimes a day. You have to be on set. But it was fun. It was fun.
Definitely fun. But you hung in there a lot longer than I could have, so bravo to you.
Thank you. Okay, what's your next?
I worked at the Hyatt Hotel at Los Angeles International Airport, and I worked in a department called reservations. What that means is that people would call in asking for a room, and I would say, are you here for a group or convention? And then I would give them the appropriate rate. I told them what kind of rooms we had. I had a double, king size, we had smoking, we had non-smoking, and so I would take their reservations and their form of payment and give them a booking, basically, at our hotel. And so that job was interesting because that was the first job that I actually had to sit down the entire time and stare at a computer. And back then, we had computers that were monochrome. I don't know if you don't know what that means. That means the computer had just one color. And in this case, it was orange letters on the screen. We didn't have the computers they have now that have pictures. No, this was like war game stuff, just one color on the screen. And so that was significant because that was the first time I actually needed to start wearing glasses. And so you can blame the hotel on these glasses that I'm currently wearing, because if you stare at a computer screen for so many hours, eventually your eyes are going to feel the strain. And so I started wearing glasses after that. And the Hyatt Hotel, I worked there just for a year. And the reason I only worked there for a year is because after a certain amount of time, I decided to go back to the Bay Area. I actually dropped out of college and went back to the San Francisco Bay Area to live. But I did continue working for the Hyatt Corporation. I worked at Hyatt San Francisco Airport, and then eventually the Hyatt Regency in downtown San Francisco. So altogether, I was at the Hyatt Hotel Corporation for 5 years. And so I had a lot of good memories. Free hotel rooms around the world. We took some wonderful trips, including Hawaii, Palm Springs, all kinds of different places. And so they gave you, I believe it was like 15 free hotel rooms a year. It might have been 12, I don't remember, but enough to make you really appreciate working at that corporation. So that was amazing.
When he said "wait," that was not including me. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
The trip with his family, because our timeline is a little weird right now.
Yeah, we're
for the viewers, because he's still
This is before we met.
right.
Yeah.
Because again, 10 years apart.
I'm older.
So he's still So we haven't met in his story, but we're already married in my story right now. So sorry for the confusion.
We got some multiverse action going on right now.
So anyway, well, that's interesting. Orange, I had never known. Like I
Yeah.
know the laptop had one color. Maybe it was like white.
Yeah. Oh, but we didn't have
I mean-
laptops back then. Excuse me. We had just good old-fashioned desktops.
Okay. So anyway, that's interesting. After the acting, so we had our daughter. And so initially, because we don't have families around, so I decided to not work for a couple years so I can take care of my daughter. And when she turned 3, I say, okay, well now she can go to a daycare so I can go back to work. But at that moment, I actually, instead of going back to work, I wanted to finish my school because at that age, I wanted to get a 9-to-5 job, stable job, stable income. But in America, they favor people, they hire people with, because, with all the other jobs, I
Right.
know that they will hire people with a college degree. So I decided to go back to school and got I only had 2 years left
Yeah.
for college. And then so I decided to finish that 2-year college. So while I was in college, university, I worked at the school, our Health and Human Service Department, HH, Health and Human, yeah. So like,
right.
As a peer financial mentor coordinator. So there's this program for college students where we're paid to teach local students, for example, high schools or local communities, even our own college with the financial literacy. So I was the coordinator for that program, so I had to hire all the college students who work for this program, and we had to create all the curriculums or PowerPoints to teach. And so that was fun. I did that while I was a full-time mom. I was doing full-time students. On top of that, I was working 20 hours a week on this project.
It was a great program where you educated students on, how to be financially responsible. And she came into my high school classroom with her group and taught our students a little bit about financial literacy. And so that was kind of cool.
Yeah, we collaborated with Jason's school. Why not? His school was next door to our college, so it was perfect for us. Just walk over and present, the financial literacy. So yeah, that was fun during the college, and yeah, it was good. How
That
about
was,
you?
After Hyatt, I was living in San Francisco at that time, and I realized that I wasn't really going anywhere in the hotel. I think I applied to the sales department and the catering department because it was a little bit higher pay, but they did not accept my desire for a promotion, and so I decided, you know what, this is just too much. And I remember I was doing the work of I'm a really hard worker. Let's just put that out there. I was doing the work of 2 people, and many people didn't mind that I was doing all the work. And I said, you know what, this is not for me. So I ultimately just decided to leave. And so I left the Hyatt. And I did a lot of odd things after that, like art and music and trying to explore and discover who I was. But ultimately, I still needed to pay the bills and pay my rent. And so I got a job as still a customer service representative, like at the Hyatt, but it was at a place called Providian Bancorp. It was a company that sold, or offered, I should say, secured credit cards to people. A secured credit card is just like you open a bank account, you deposit some money, at that time was $300, and then this bank would hold on to that money just to make sure that you used your credit card responsibly. And if after a certain amount of time you demonstrate that you're able to use your credit card responsibly, they would send back your deposit or offer you the chance to get your deposit back. Or you could just leave your money in the bank and let it earn interest. So that was a place that I worked at right before Japan. I mean, I worked at another place, but it was only like for 2 months. It was at another sort of credit card place called ACH Bank Card, but ultimately Providian Bancorp was the place that I worked at right before I went to Japan to become a teacher. And so that was a good experience. I met one of my lifelong friends there. His name is Tim, and he's still my friend to this very day. And so that's what I remember most about Providian, is that I was able to meet a person who became a lifelong friend. So
Yeah, that's great. Tim, yeah, Tim's wonderful. So I don't know if right now they have credit cards like that anymore. Secure.
that's a great question. I don't know if they do either. Maybe they stopped doing that.
Yeah, hold cash, right? Or
Yeah.
unless that's for like maybe younger kids. I don't know. I have no idea. But
That's a great question.
all we know is like you apply and you get the credit card now. But that's
Right.
interesting. uh, so good. You're almost heading to Japan now. So I'm my so after graduation, I studied dietetics and food science. I want to be a dietitian initially to help with people with their health, nutrition, and diseases with the that can correct it by nutrition diet. We had an internship a program the last year, and then so I applied. So you have to apply the internship yourself. The school doesn't offer any companies, so you just try to find out what company you can get the internship from. So I was lucky enough to find Chicken of the Sea Corporation.
Very famous.
So it's in America. It's like a canned tuna, has mermaid on there. It's called the Chicken of the Sea. It's not chicken, it's tuna. But they had this really unique name for it, and then little mermaid on there. It's really, really nice. And so I was lucky enough to get an internship there for 3 months. So I was commuting to the company, and I was learning a lot at their quality assurance department. And then so like Jason, I am also fast learner, hardworking person. So they liked me a lot, so they extended my internship to 6 months instead of 3. And it was paid internship. Many of my friends didn't have a paid internship. So it was unpaid, but I was lucky enough to get paid to work at the Chicken of the Sea Corporation. And I must say that company is so great. We're talking about working as a team.
Yeah.
They really showed me what working as team meant, and so that's where I interned at after college.
Yeah.
What about you?
It turned out to be a very, very important job.
Yeah, and
for you.
they actually were shipping us canned tunas, different flavored tunas. So as a quality assurance department, we were basically testing the product daily. So they would ship like cases of products to us, and ended up we don't have place to put, so we would just leave it out there in the office for people to take home. So I was able to take home a lot of canned tuna, and
We might still have some
Sardine.
tuna from that.
so we were eating a lot of high quality
It was really good, yeah.
tunas and red canned
Absolutely.
tunas and
Really good. A lot of different varieties. I didn't know there were so many
Yeah.
many different
variety.
varieties.
Yeah.
of tuna.
So that was that. And what about you? What's next?
I'm pretty much done, dear. I go straight into teaching after So it's just teaching after, when I get to Japan, teaching is the last job. I held my teaching job for 26 years and retiring after that. So
Well,
I'm just ready.
you were teaching English over there. Then you came back, you got your teaching. You're right. Yeah.
I have jobs I forgot about. You're right.
Yeah.
After teaching in Japan, I came back. So I got to add this to my list. And I worked at a Vitamin World for a while.
Oh.
It's when we
Oh, you forgot the garlic place.
Gilroy Foods was after.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Vitamin World.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I
yeah.
worked at Vitamin World in Gilroy, California. I worked there, good Lord, I don't know, maybe about 10 months. But then after that, I wanted to find something that was more like a career. And so I worked at a place called Gilroy Foods. And yes, they don't have that anymore. But yeah.
Wait, is the vitamin word still here?
Vitamin World, they still have,
Oh,
even though I
okay.
think most of their business is slowly transitioning to online, they still have a few brick and mortar places, as they call it. But why, you're trying to make them close?
No, I was just curious.
No. And so Gilroy Foods, yeah, it was but it was really stressful. I remember the stress. Basically, Gilroy Foods, they manufactured garlic and onions and dehydrated onions. And you probably know Gilroy Foods if you've ever eaten a hamburger at McDonald's, because those onions inside every McDonald's burger came from Gilroy Foods. It probably still does. I think they changed the name of the place, but every McDonald's around the world got their onions from this place. And so I was responsible for shipping it. And I just remember it being very stressful. You'd have companies that would order garlic and onions, and I might have sent it to, New York instead of Washington, and I got all these complaints, and it was just, oh my goodness, we
Yeah.
need our onions to manufacture on Monday.
Yeah.
And that stress was really tough on me. And so ultimately I decided to go back to teaching after that. I said, whatever it takes, I need to go back to teaching, because this stressful sort of life is not for me. So
Yeah.
that was my first taste of real work-related stress.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I would
Yeah.
get back to the job that brought me a lot of happiness, which was teaching.
I think sometimes you have to try it to know what's right for you, what's
Right.
not, right? And then those logistic stuff, it's a lot. It takes a lot of brain work, and
Yes.
you're right.
It really does.
Different things. And so yeah, I'm glad that you'll find your path, and eventually, okay, he's pretty much done with his job, and I have a few more to go. I guess
Well,
I
how
would
much
just
time do we have? Go ahead.
so after internship at Chicken of the Sea, I worked at Pepsi.
Yes.
It's Pepsi's okay. It's such a huge corporation. They have a different. They also own different flavor, different type of beverages as well. One is it's called the Kavita kombucha. Kombucha is like a fermented tea, and so I worked at that company as a quality assurance again. So it's quite far from where we live. So I
Very.
had to leave very early in the morning, and come home. I think that was the main thing eventually for me to quit, just because it was just they decided to change from 8 hours to 12 hours shift.
Wow.
And then I just couldn't see myself how I can get up. We're already waking up at 3:45 or 3:30 in the morning to make that 8-hour shift with commute and traffic and everything. When they decided to change to 12-hour shift, I couldn't do 3 to 3, right? 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. Come home, sleep a little bit, go back to 3. I refused.
It's tough.
And,
It's tough.
so yeah, I worked there and learned a lot about how manufacturer worked, because initially with Chicken of the Sea it was corporate, right? Corporate setting, how quality assurance worked, and this time was manufacturer settings, and then see how everything works there, bottling the beverage, the testing we did hourly. So it was interesting. It was
Yes.
good experience for sure.
Definitely.
So after that, that's where pandemic hit.
Lovely.
Yeah. So regardless, I probably wouldn't stay long anyway, right?
Right,
Because
right.
of pandemic. During pandemic, right before that, 2019, I said, you know what? I'm gonna go walk Jason's path to become a teacher. Because I see how teacher, I mean, it's stressful job, but I do have passion of teaching, and I have passion in science, biology, chemistry, and then the most important thing is that you get all these long summer breaks and winter breaks. I just thought that'd be perfect for us to take this time, rest, travel, whatever, right? As a
Absolutely.
family, do whatever. So I decided to take these tests that for you to get into the credential program. So I was studying for 6 months, and I took the same test. I want to say 3 times at least, and I just can't pass the test. I just can't. Like no matter how much I study, this was more like the CBEST, like the test, and
right.
the math I passed immediately. The English, I don't know what is going on. Which is they won't like they won't let me pass that. And then
So
so
challenging.
yeah, and then I took the CSAT, which was all science, and then there was chemistry, biology. I think they were testing you 4 different science areas, and then there were 3 out of 4 I passed, but there was one I think it was engineering. I couldn't pass that one. I'm just questioning myself. I'm just like, what is going on? I've been just studying 8 hours a day, right? And at the same time, I was applying jobs online. Uh, well, I don't know why. One day I just applying for. Well, I kind of know why. I always wanted for the government, so I was applying for USDA, FDA, different jobs that government positions online. Within a year and a half, I applied like 10 different positions at this government website. And just when I was feeling, why am I not passing all these tests to become a teacher? Because that's what I want to do. And that's when one of the application I submitted to FDA, so the Food and Drug Administration, reply back to me, say, hey, you got an interview. That was very strange because my mind already made that I wanted to be a teacher. So
Right.
I had a conversation with Jason. I was like, okay, well, what do I want to do? Because I really want to teach.
Yeah.
But this interview came in.
Yeah.
Well, Jason, as usual, he's always supportive. He said, why not? There's nothing to lose.
Right. You
Just
gotta,
go for that interview.
as we know, things happen for a reason. Maybe there was
Yeah.
a reason that this job came in to you at a time when you were questioning, what you're going to do. And so you.
So I say, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
There's nothing to lose. I'm just gonna go do a quick interview and come home and just forget about it. Wow, maybe 2 months later, the HR called me from FDA offering the position, and I was very surprised because I just didn't think I was gonna get the position just because I don't know. I think my mind was still at teaching. And then they offered me the position as consumer safety officer, so it's like an investigator position,
Yeah.
which I know nothing about. So I say, sure, better than nothing, right? Like I'm still nowhere near to become a teacher, so I say yes, I'll take this position, and so that was 2020.
Yeah.
Yep. So I went to the office. There was nobody there because everybody was
At home.
at
Yeah.
home. Yeah, it
In
was
quarantine.
quarantine at home, working from home. The new hires, by government, was basically they require, right? They require the new hires to work 8 hours a day in person in office for a year before you are allowed to work remotely or telework.
Right.
So it was really funny because this huge office, beautiful office, but there was like 2, 3 three people at one time. We're just like, hi, I'm this, introduce ourselves, and we just learned together. It was not much training going on because everyone's home. It was an interesting time. Yeah,
Absolutely.
but somehow we made it right eventually. But yeah, so that was most recent job. I worked there for 5 years, and now we are moving forward.
Right.
Two friends.
These are the two jobs we'll be leaving before we go to France.
Yeah.
Me saying goodbye to teaching, you saying goodbye to your government job.
Yep.
So,
Yep. So we're well. I think we just got to a point that with my investigation, the job as an investigator was a lot. It was
right.
so much pressure. I mean, within these 5 years, I had so many health issues
True.
from the stress I had, and I think both of us just wanted to take a little breather, little.
Yeah,
Life is not about work.
that's very true. But when the work starts to have an effect on your health, then you really have to start thinking about what's the most important. And so that's ultimately the reason we're moving to France, is because life is now going to be our priority. All of the years, 40 years of working for me,
30
and
years for me.
30 years for you. I think we've given enough of our life to working, and now it's time to give back just simply to our life. And so
Yeah.
we're focusing on our happiness.
Yep,
We're
just-
focusing on moving forward.
Yeah, yeah,
And being happy.
being happy and just really relax. If people, if you work 30, 40 years, you just want a break, right? You want a break. You want to live life a little. Yeah, are we saying we're never gonna work again? We're not saying that.
No.
We're just at the point of like we kind of feel like it's time to enjoy life for a
Right.
year or so, right?
Right.
Depends, we don't know yet. But then after that, and we decide what we want to do next,
Absolutely.
But whatever we do, we'll definitely want to do something that we are interested in,
There you go.
and that is, we're passionate about, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So that's the goal. We miscount a couple things here and there. Initially we say 26. I think maybe there's 30,
It might be
30
more,
jobs
yeah.
together in the last 40 years. So
Too many, basically.
too many. And yeah, if you guys have, let us know how your jobs are like. It's a lot
Yeah.
of people I know, they've been working one job for 30, 40 years, right?
Wow.
And I'm kind of embarrassed to tell them I had 20 jobs in 30 years. So I tried not to say stuff like
It's
that.
almost the same as us moving from place to place. We're like moving from job to job. 'Cause it's
Yeah.
almost like inside of us, we're searching for that thing that's truly going to make us happy. This is our chance to, live a different chapter of our lives.
Yes.
And as you said, we might work again. You never know. I might find a wonderful teaching job over in France. You never know.
Yeah, exactly. And we're still young, right? And then we can, if we wanted to, we still can work 20, 30 years. But for now, we're just gonna take a breather and just
Yes.
really enjoy our life. And especially you move to another country, there's some kind of moving stress come with it, right? So we want to make sure we adjust to the other country first, and then who knows, later we'll decide what we want to do. We'll definitely keep you posted. Yeah, what I want to say is that, yeah, let us know in the comments. We really like your comments, and read them all. Doesn't matter what language, there's translation
Yeah. We welcome
section,
all your comments.
and we would love to hear your thoughts on your job and on our history of positions.
Yeah. How many jobs have you had? Let us know.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you for watching.
Thank you for
and
watching.
we can't wait to see you guys next week again. And we hope you have a good week.
Right.
All right.
A biento.
A biento. Bye bye. Oh, good job.